Hi guys, this is Iceberg, and today I'm gonna talk about the Punch Audio Portazo for $189 with a 1DD and 2 planar driver configuration. Pretty unusual hybrid setup, right? So there are IEMs from the Basshead Punch Audio brand, and if you ever tried the Martilo, then you know, bass plays the leading role here. They really make you freeze for a second when you hear those bass lines, but at the same time they had some minor issues, and in the Portazo I'm expecting more presence in the mids and treble, while keeping the Basshead character. And before we get into the review, I wanna thank the Linsol team for providing the Portazo for this review. All the purchase links for Portazo and Martilo review you can find in the description below the video. However, my review is always based on my personal experience, and I will never agree to tell you marketing stories. That's simply not my style. So if you're a fan of hip-hop, rock, metal, or even electronic music, where the bass needs to be crazy, then you have come to the right place. Let's take a closer look at them. Let's go. Okay, Portazo comes in a brutal Punch audio design box with an image of the shells, the model name, and the logo on the front. On the side there is a brief specifications, with a 10mm dynamic driver and a dual planar magnetic for the mids and treble, with ultra low impedance, so get a good deck if you're gonna use them. Inside we see the same gate opening style where we find the Portazo shells, modular 2-pin cable, 3.5 and 4.4mm plugs, 2 sets of ear tips, a few pairs of extra meshes, and the Punch Audio leather case. Speaking about the cable, it's finally not that cowboy lasso that we got with the Martilo. I mean, visually it's the same for core OFC cable with quality fittings, 2-pin plugs with the color indicators, and modular connection, so we can use them with the different devices, but it's not that thick like the previous one, and that's fixed all the problems. Now it has a standard thickness, white light, flexible, playable, and doesn't pull the IEMs down while using, but at the same time it's just as reliable and works perfectly for this set. I have nothing to add here, this is good upgrade from Punch Audio. With Portazo we also get a new set of ear tips in addition to the foam ones, which you already know about. These are for bass fans and those who want absolute isolation, but the black one's really interesting. Well, they're made of quite soft, sticky silicone with a standard shape and a regular bore, which I assume Zigot is using in their new models. However, this works really well with the Portazo without changing their original tuning too much and providing a tight fit with a good isolation. So I use them in my review. Getting back to the shells, they are made of black resin and way more compact than the Martilo, which is great for folks with small ears like me. On the faceplates we can see a unique handmade emerald design with the deep patterns and a logo in the middle. But guys, just look at these nozzles. I mean, what is this? Okay, they're slightly recessed inside the shell with a 5.8mm width, which is supposed to minimize the protrusion in small ears. Okay, that's cool. By the way, look with the ear tips, it looks organic, with a natural nozzle angle, so it shouldn't cause any problem when we're putting them in. We can also see here the model name, channel indicators and serial number, with a vent on the top, and 2-pin connectors aligned on the side. As for the fit and comfort guys, it's gonna be a very individual, but I love this nozzle improvement and it works for me. First, the shells are quite small and light, with no weird angles inside, and the recessed nozzle really eliminates the protrusion, making the shells more seamless and the isolation better. So in my small ears they fit securely and comfy, providing a pretty deep and tight seal, and I find them much more comfier for long listening sessions than the Martilo. I think it was a bold upgrade in terms of shape, and eventually it pays off. The shells became more versatile and now fit all ear sizes, and I can also praise Punch Audio for this. As for isolation, it's above average, cutting out most running sounds, so they're quite suitable for use in moderately noisy environments, at home, outdoors, or even when traveling. Alright guys, before we get into the sound impressions of Portazo, let's take a quick look at the graph, and for clarity, I've added Martilo, so you can see what's changed in the new model. So here you can see an aggressive Basshead graph, where the sub-bass region starts at 72 decibels and raised by 15 decibels related to neutrality, which is simply insane. The mid-bass region is also boosted here, so if you found Martilo lacking in this region, here this is more than enough. The lower mid-range, as you can see, is also boosted, so male vocals and fundamental instruments are gonna sound wagey and rich, rather than just musical, as they were before. The mid-range, from 500 Hz to the end of the upper mid-range at 4K Hz, stay neutral, and knowing the planar it can show this, maintaining smooth transitions and detail. And if you're sensitive to the peak at 3K Hz, which can be shrill for some, you won't find it here. The treble region in the Portazo is wave-like, so it won't be extremely bright like in PZT or some DDs, but at the same time, due to the target peaks at 8K Hz and especially at 15K Hz, this will add airiness and extension to the highs, and that's cool, I like it. Overall, Portazo shows an extremely bass-head V-shaped graph with a clear presence of the sub, mid-bass and lower mid-range, while remaining quite neutral mid-range and extended highs. But how does Portazo sound in reality? Let's find it out. Well, if I'll tell you guys that Portazo sounds like a nicely tuned bass head with a planar mids and treble, would you understand me? I think not. So let's take it step by step. Firstly, I turned on Dogs Out by DMX and heard exactly what I expected. That's powerful bass lines. You know, the bass dominates here, on the verge of being overwhelming, and it seems like if they added extra decibels, it would be too much even for me as a bass head. So basically it's a physical vibrations that seem to blow you away, because it's very dense and deep, starting from the very bottom. This is very exciting, energetic and fun, making you move your head to every beat. Meanwhile, I immediately noticed the sound is very tasty, musical, detailed, punchy, and here Portazo is created simply for enjoyment of music. This is the sound that you immediately love, that you don't need to get used to, and that you don't need to burn in. Just plug, turn them on, and enjoy. That's very simple. And they give you more fun than the Martilo for less money. That's cool. To be honest, that evening at night I listened to all the albums by DMX, Dr. Dre with the Snoop Dogg, Wu-Tang Clan and Ice Cube of course, because it sounded so exciting, I couldn't tear myself away from this sound. That rarely happens to me. Regarding the bass, it's massive here and plays a key role in creating the sound. The sub-bass is raised by about 15 decibels related to the mid-range, and this is the most powerful boost I ever heard in the IEMs. It has incredible depth, where Portazo can easily reach the lowest notes with real wage and even lower with a noticeable rumble. In Lamborghini High by A$AP Mob, when the sub-bass drop starts, it feels not just a rumble, but a physical sensation where your skull, chest and possibly the ceiling above you vibrate, and this is clearly felt at about average volume, creating pressure like from good subwoofer in a car. The mid-bass is also boosted, not to the point of madness, but very close. It adds enough punch and body to the drums and bass guitar, but doesn't bleed into the lower mid-range. The mid-bass texture is super dense and meaty, where you only hear the viscous pressure in the bass lines, not loose or dry, but wagey and authoritative. For example, in Floor Seats and Marilyn Manson by A$AP Ferg, Portazo perfectly conveys the vibe of the tracks with dominant bass, fast transitions and excellent control, where we hear a powerful, fast bass that doesn't go beyond its limits. And the only nuance I noticed is the bass amount really depends on the DAC, so get something powerful to feel those vibrations. The midrange in Portazo is slightly warm with a hint of forwardness, but without being shrill. It's not recessed as in many Basshead models, and not completely neutral as monitor IEMs, but strikes a balance between warm musicality and cold analysis. Vocals and instruments sounds physical, with weight, but without excessive thickness or congestion, where the bass slightly warms up the lower mid-range, adding warmth and fullness, without bleeding or muddying the upper mid-range, and all transitions are smooth and seamless, like in the best planar models. So the vocals are the main star of the mid-range, where they come forward in comparison to the instruments, making the listening experience very engaging and emotional. Male vocal sounds powerful, full-bodied, authoritative, with natural hoarseness and resonance, while female are lush, silky, intimate, with right amount of body, without sounding thin or shrill. The timbre of the instruments is also quite good overall. The guitar sounds energetic and natural, the piano has decent note weight, and the strings are smooth and expressive. Moving to the treble, I wanna say it's relaxing, and only a couple of target picks save it from total darkness. I mean, this treble isn't made for crazy brightness, sparkle, or maybe sharpness, but rather for details, information, and extension, because it's planar driver man. Once again, the treble is tuned for maximum naturalness and balanced sound, and that's exactly how it feels in here, providing just as much brightness and sparkle as the tracks requires, without any extra boost. Maybe that's because I'm mostly listening to the strip hub, yes, possibly, but even when I switched to something more treble oriented, it still remained in my opinion that this sound is very informative and extended, without leaning toward brightness. And that's good for folks who are sensitive to the bright treble. If you like powerful lows more than bright treble, then Portazo will suit you just fine. The Soundstage in Portazo is rather moderate in width, but with good height and depth, which is key here. This isn't the case where the sound goes far wide, but rather forward and down, creating the effect of dimensional, dense sound space. Thanks to the powerful sub-bass, the soundstage feels voluminous and physical, with a noticeable pressure coming from below, like there is a foundation under the sound, which is ideal for hip-hop, trap, dubstep, and electronic music, when you literally stand on this bass foundation and everything else rise above it. This soundstage is more about immersions and massiveness, putting you inside the sound instead of observing it from the outside. This is the club or live concert feeling, like you're in the middle of crowd, with the music pressing in and enveloping you from all the sides. Well, let's compare the Portazo with the older brother, the Punch Audio Martilo, which are so similar, but at the same time so different. Let's figure out. The Martilo is a tribute for $329, with 2 DD drivers for the bass, 2 Knowles BA drivers for the mids, and a planar for the treble. They sound more balanced and technical than the Portazo, even despite the powerful bass. The bass here is deep and dominant, but Portazo clearly wins in terms of pure power and quantity, with deeper sub-bass and meaty more aggressive mid-bass, even though the Martilo is better controlled. The mids in the Martilo are warm and emotional, slightly recessed related to the bass, but the upper mids are bright and expressive, thanks to the peak at 3 kHz, while in the Portazo the mids are forward, more wagey in the lower mids, and the vocals are closer to the stage, denser and more engaging. The treble in the Martilo is more airy, ringing and sparkling, with a good extension, but without fatigue, while in the Portazo it's relaxing and natural, where the planars provide smoothness but less sparkle. In the end, if you want a maximum bass, closer mids and immersions, go for the Portazo. It gives you more fun and excitement for less money. But if you prefer a balanced set, technical sophistication, and a little less extremity, then the Martilo remains an excellent choice. For me, both models are cool, both sound good, but they serve different purposes. In conclusion, when I first unpacked Portazo, I honestly didn't know what to expect from them. Another basshead from the Punch Audio? Alright, sounds good. But after a few days of listening, and especially after that evening when I listened to all the old school strip hop albums in a row, because I just couldn't get enough of that sound, I realized that this is something special. Portazo isn't just good basshead. This IEMs clearly shows that Punch Audio really listens to the feedbacks and evolves. If you have seen my Martilo reviews, then you remember me saying that they are great IEMs, but with some nuances. Well, here they took what worked in the Martilo, that powerful, engaging bass, and improved everything else. So bass at 15 decibels related to neutrality is insane, guys. I've tried a lot of basshead IEMs, but this level of depth and physical pressure is something different. The midrange is now present, rather than hiding behind a bass wall. The vocals come to the fore, dense, wagey and emotional, while the treble has become more relaxed and natural, without the brightness and ringing that sometimes start the ears in the Martilo, which is right choice for basshead IEMs, and perhaps most importantly is their shape. These compact shells with recessed nozzles are a real relief for the people with the small ears like mine, and all this for the less money. It's a bold upgrade and it's paid off completely. Well, after all that, my final rating for Portazo would be 8.5 out of 10 for a basshead like me, and if you love hip hop, wanna have fun and get immersed in it, it's easily 9 out of 10 or maybe even higher. That evening when I could get enough of DMX and Dr. Dre albums, that really happens to me, guys, and that's the best recommendation I can give. When IEMs makes you forget about testing and just enjoy the music, those are special IEMs. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. I've tried to make my review as detailed as possible, and your like is the best way to show your appreciation for my work, along with your subscription. I'll catch you guys in the next one, take care of your ears, enjoy the music, this was Iceberg, and bye bye.